Thanks everybody for coming to the High Limit Racing press conference today. Unfortunately, Flo CEO Mark Filiani couldn't join us today. He's up at an investor meeting, but we're glad to have Phil Wendler here, FloSports Executive Vice President of Global Rights Acquisition, and of course Kyle Larson and Brad Sweet. Just a reminder, today's press conference is being recorded for all you. It'll be posted on the Flo Racing and High Limit sites once everything's over here. So let's get to why we're here today. Big news came out yesterday. High Limit's going 50 plus races, national tour, $5 million in purse money. Midweek title will still be a thing. The Midweek Money Series. Yesterday we announced a bunch of tracks: Eldora, Port Royal, Skagit, Silver Dollar, Lakeside, Eagle, East Bay, Portsmouth, and the full schedule will be out here soon, hopefully. We'll start this off with a few opening remarks from each of the speakers we have, and then I'll open the floor to questions. Just use the raise hand feature down the reactions tab, and I'll try my best to get to you. So without further ado, Kyle Larson, start us off.
It was an exciting day yesterday, getting everything announced, and it's been a lot of hard work for everybody involved, and just big things ahead. So look forward to getting the season started with the High Limit Series, and big things ahead. So just really excited about it, and I'm glad that the midweek stuff is still continuing on as well. So just thanks everybody that's been involved. Like I said, it's been a lot of hard work the last 5 or 6 months or so.
We got Brad Sweet, who spent most of the year as an official, but will next year be a full-time competitor going for the High Limit Championship with Casey Kane Racing. Brad?
First, just want to thank everybody for giving us coverage, and hopefully we can answer some questions for you guys. So appreciate that. Obviously, a lot of hard work. Obviously things are going to look different in 2024 for myself. For sprint car racing, and obviously just excited for the future. Excited, what we have going on with Flo Racing, and excited to showcase some of the plans that obviously Kyle and I have. We definitely are very excited about it.
Speaking of Flo Racing, glad to have Phil Wendler here with us. Big investment on their part. Talk about what this means for Flo, Phil.
Sure. Thanks, Brian. And this is a big week for FloSports and for Flo Racing. Before I jump into the why, I want to recognize everybody that was involved with this deal. It didn't come together overnight. Dozens of folks on both sides kind of worked together to make this happen. Brad and Kyle and their teams were tremendous, helping us develop a framework and kind of building the foundation of the partnership here. On our side, so many folks were involved, from the racing team, the rights team, production, content, marketing, legal. We've got over almost 400 full-time employees here at FloSports. A big chunk were involved here because we saw the importance of this deal, and we're really proud of the outcome. So why invest and take an ownership position in High Limit? It really comes down to the two guys on the screen with me, Kyle and Brad, not only two of the most decorated and talented drivers in North America, but really the dynamic vision they had for High Limit Racing, how it's designed to grow the sport, and how it's aligned with our mission. It's fresh, it's innovative, it's infectious. It's an approach that we've seen fans and drivers really lean into, and there's no better way to continue to build Flo Racing as the #1 destination in motorsports than to have partners like this. So what does it mean for Flo Racing? Man, we want to have the top series, the top drivers, the top tracks across all segments that we invest in motorsports. We're pursuing the IP here and the ownership position in High Limit Racing because it really creates an integrated long-term strategy and approach that gives us greater flexibility in how we use the IP dynamically to go beyond Flo Racing. We want to promote our partners, the drivers, the tracks, and continue to elevate the sprint car racing space. And, if we can do that, we're all going to win here. But now, as we shift to execution is where the real work begins. We have confidence in Kyle and Brad. They're going to put a great product on the track. Now it's our job to make sure the series can get bigger and better. We're going to be there with them every day, from doing the live production, the content, the coverage, the marketing, promotion. But we also want to invest further. This year we got to do a great episodic series with Kyle. Dirt Season 1 was aired on Fox Sports. We want to bring more storytelling like that to the High Limit Series and across Flo Racing. and not just for the Flow Racing subscribers and fans, but really to work with partners like Fox to take it above and beyond, to really get out there and grow the marketplace. Because winning to us is growing the sport. And so that means creating a bigger opportunity for everyone involved. So really excited to get to work.
Thank you, Phil. So yeah, we'll open the floor to questions now. Feel free to just raise your hand down there. If you go to the reactions and just raise hand, we'll do our best to get to you in a timely manner. Just unmute your mic, start your camera when you're called upon. I'll start with Jeff Gluck with The Athletic.
Yeah. Hey guys. I mean, no offense to Kyle, but like Brad, this seems just like monumental for you in particular, like quite the leap for your career, a bold move. Why now? Why did you decide to go all in on this? And why is this going to be the right thing for you?
Yeah, good question. Obviously, teaming up with Kyle, Flow Racing, presented a really unique opportunity. When you spend 10 years kind of on the road, and you basically are living in this world of sprint car racing, it's your desire and your passions to grow the sport, obviously. And, it's just, I think it's part of who I am is, just have a strong desire as an entrepreneur for one, and just a true love for racing to try to grow the sport. And then, these opportunities kind of present themselves. So, I just feel like this gives me the opportunity to showcase my vision and where I thought that we could take sprint car racing for a long time. I accomplished in the driver's seat no matter what happens moving forward. But this is in my vision, high limit racing is going to be the top of the sport, and it allows me to, compete it with, for the biggest purses. It allows me the most opportunity to make the biggest living for my family. And, those are all key factors in kind of making this decision.
And what was it like when I assume at some point you had to have a conversation, maybe you didn't, with the Outlaws, to be like, hey, I'm going to be doing this. What was that like?
They obviously a year, and I try to stay focused on trying to win my 5th championship and try to, give my team, everything they deserve that I should be giving them on the driver's side. So I create any distraction for them, and ask some questions, but I felt like they were just, taking it kind of like from like a personal thing, like it was a personal attack. But I assured them it was, more business decision on my end, and I have no ill feelings towards them. They don't love what we're doing. It's pretty obvious by some of the comments they've made, but at the end of the day, we got to do what's best for us.
Thank you.
Go to TJ Slideways.
Brad, Kyle, I've spoke to 2 different promoters over the past 48 hours that had pretty prominent all-star shows last year. Neither indicated they've been reached out to by High Limit yet. Can you clarify, what is High Limit looking to do with some of the 19 all-star events that took place in the Michigan, Ohio region last year? And can you specifically comment on if High Limit's going to be sanctioning Ohio Sprint Speed Week or outsourcing that event to a different series?
Yeah, we're going to, I'll speak on the Ohio Speed Week first. We're going to outsource Ohio Speed Week. The Fast Series is going to take over Ohio Speed Week in 2024. And we're going to support them and try to, help them, take that and run with it. And, hopefully the Ohio fans and drivers will still, get to compete in that week, and all the fans will still be able to enjoy that tradition that they've had for many, many years. As far as promoters reaching out or talking, I feel like we've talked to, hundreds of promoters. So if they're not reaching out to us, we may be under the impression that they don't want to race. But we feel like we've talked to, it seems like every track, in just about the whole United States. So I'm not sure. Obviously, we obviously want to have and honor, a lot of the big events that the All-Stars had. I think we announced obviously some of those dates that the All-Stars have had in the past. And, we're certainly open to conversations from every promoter that wants to have a race, whether it fits into our schedule in 2024 or the future. That will be determined, but I don't feel like there's many promoters we haven't talked to. So if you do talk to those promoters, tell them to reach out. Obviously, we're working really hard, and we're certainly open to those discussions.
I will do that. What do you think as far as a full schedule release? Do you think we'll see that by the PRI show or maybe possibly after?
I think you'll see it by the PRI show.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
We'll go to Matt Weaver.
Hey guys, thanks for the time. For Brad, just kind of watching you even at World Finals, the way that people were constantly grabbing you and asking you questions and running from one side of the garage to the other. I'm curious, what does your pitch look like, whether you're talking to a current Outlaws team or a PA team or a pre-existing all-star team? I imagine the pitch is different depending on what a certain team has been doing. So when you try to sell them on this vision, what is kind of the key notes that you hammer on them?
Yeah, good question. I try not to look at it as like a sales pitch, more of just providing the information. I know a lot of teams are making decisions and trying to sell sponsorship, and a lot of times you align your sponsorship with the series that you're going to run with. So some of it's just providing owners and drivers and answering questions and concerns. It's a big move for sprint car racing, and we know that there's a lot of questions as to what we're trying to accomplish with high limit. So just trying to answer how many days the schedules, what our purses are look like, what our point fund's going to look like. Those are things that are really important for sustainability for the race team. So they're just basically just kind of interacting. Not every conversation I was having in the pits was high limits. We still have a lot of friends in the racing community. So, but mainly just answering. And I don't really feel like I need to sell them on it. I think what we're trying to do, if they want to come run with us, we're welcoming with opening arms. But if they need to see it from a distance for a year or two, that's at their discretion. We're not trying to go out there and take teams or convince teams to do something they don't want to do.
And then for Kyle and for Brad, now that we've kind of gone through 2 years of this process, turning this from the series it was this year to next year, when did you guys first start? I mean, you guys run a track too. So when did you guys first start talking about, hey, we're thinking about doing a series and maybe it could go national? When did that start? Who brought it up first? And was there anyone, whether it's Brad or Kyle or whoever, that was like, no, that's crazy. We can't do that. Was that ever part of the narrative?
Good, Kyle.
No, I mean, I think once we got going in our MidWeek Series that we had this season, we instantly had a lot of, obviously eyes on us and felt like we had a lot of momentum going. And, then we had some things be approached about, acquiring the All-Stars. And so that was pretty early on. And I would say it just kind of slowly went from there, and more conversations started, obviously, between Brad and I and the others involved, Phil and everybody at Flo. So yeah, we just kind of had to weigh it all out and make the best possible decision. And that's why, it took a long time, it felt like. So, our brand had grown so quickly that, we felt like, the right opportunity for us was to move forward like we are. So, but it didn't happen as quickly as maybe we had hoped, or as quickly as others had been thinking that it was going to all come out.
And then one for Phil too, if I may. I feel like one obvious thing from a production, standpoint, the competition has such a robust platform. It looks very pretty. It's very state of the art. I'm curious, do you guys have plans in the works to kind of improve the production, the presentation stuff? Is that on kind of the radar?
Yeah, 100%. We want to invest into this series and have it be one of our flagship properties, right? And so that's across the board. With FloSports, we were in 25 different sports, and so that allows us to also have some larger resources on the production side, but also on the product and engineering side. So we've got a lot of exciting innovation and evolution to our consumer product, And then how do we elevate the live stream inside of that product, as well as all the other content, to make sure that, fans can get to the content they want as soon as possible on any device.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Matt.
Good, Justin Fiedler with Dirt Tracker.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on here. A couple questions. First for Brad, I would assume the addition of Texas Motor Speedway to the schedule, that's a racetrack that's had some challenges here lately, not a ton of racing. And I'm curious about the decision-making and why that was a place you guys wanted to bring the series.
Yeah, good question. Obviously, love the Dallas market. There's a lot of sprint car fans that don't get to see a lot of high-level 410 sprint car racing there. I think when you look at facilities across the country, you look at, places that if you want to do a large scale event, you get pretty limited on where you can go. And, Texas Motor Speedway seats over 12,000 fans, has 22 suites. It's a facility that's kind of sitting there unused. And obviously we love the market. Kyle's kind of has the, relationship with the NASCAR fans, and being able to go there on Cup weekend in April was really important to kind of get the facility back opened up, kind of see what we need to do. And we have a long-term goal to kind of make Texas Motor Speedway our year-end event, and hopefully grow that event into something that'll be sustainable long-term and make it big, and hopefully fans can travel there. There's just a lot of infrastructure there that allows us to take a vision and grow with it.
The other question is about, there's some reporting out there, and I don't remember if this was in the release or not, about a partnership with the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series. And I'm curious how that partnership came about. And then how often are we going to get to see Kyle run both high limit and late model at some of those events?
Yeah, I'll speak on the first part and we'll let Kyle answer his second part. But obviously with Lucas Oil Late Models being on Flow, Rick Schwally, kind of has been a decent mentor for us. And some of the things that we've talked about as part of the partnership is just, it's an alliance where we're kind of together on, our scheduling and just being aware of where each other are at, and, exploring doing more of these events together. We have the announcement coming with our schedule, so we don't want to, let the cat out of the bag, but I think that you'll see multiple events with the high limit sprint car series and the Lucas Oil late models on the same track on the same weekend.
Yeah, to answer the question about me, I mean, I'm going to race as much as I can in whatever type of car I can. I think you guys have seen that with my schedule over the last few years. I don't miss too many events. Whether it be late model or sprint car, if my schedule allows. So that's the plan for me to race not only high limit or Lucas Oil, but outlaw sprint car races, outlaw late model races, USAC races, and things of that stuff. So no, that my brand is to race and grow the sport that I love so much, with me being there. So I plan on still racing as much as I can. Also without, burning myself out, or, the NASCAR stuff obviously takes priority over everything. So it's hard for me to ever commit to races knowing that, stuff might pop up. But I ran about 100 races this year, over 100 last year, like 96 the 2 years prior. And I'm sure I'll still be around the same amount of races next year.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Justin.
Go to Jeremy Elliott with SprintCarLimited.com.
Hey guys, thanks again for doing this. First one for Brad, Kyle, doesn't matter. The regional program has been a talk on social media a lot since this started yesterday. And how do you guys look at the regional programs now that you have a national tour, that people are thinking there's a hole there? And is this something, obviously maybe you can't really do anything about it this year, but is it something long-term that you guys are looking at addressing that regional program?
Yeah, good question. We definitely, were aware when we did this deal that there was going to be, maybe a void created a little bit and maybe some upset people, but we want to assure them that we're not forgetting the history of the All-Stars, and the All-Star name is still there. It's just tabled for 2024 at this point, just so that we can focus on, trying to get the high limit racing series off the ground. I think we don't have a clear, concise answer on what we're going to do with the All-Star brand, but we have it on our list of things to do, or in our mind, that if the opportunity presents itself, or we feel like for the overall health of the ecosystem of sprint car racing, to bring it back is the right move, then we will. We just need some time to focus on what we're trying to do right this second. And obviously with the Ohio Speed Week allowing fast in 2024, we feel like that's a nice regional series in that area that's well known enough that they can kind of take that and run with it, manage it. So obviously there's a void there. We just don't know, who's going to step up and fill the void, or if the void's going to continue. And then we will need to do something. But we're definitely aware of the situation, and definitely care about the All-Stars, and definitely care about the history of the overall sport and the All-Stars. So we'll see how it plays out. It's just a temporary thing in 2024 where it's off to the side for now.
As a follow-up to that, and kind of in a different direction, again, Kyle, Brad, whoever wants to answer it. I know you guys got a lot on your plate this year, and we're throwing a lot of things at you, but industry stuff. Do you guys hope to become a player in the industry where you're talking tires, other tire compounds, rules, and stuff that are kind of universally used? Because let's face it, we don't really have a governing body in sprint car racing in the United States. Do you guys hope to become a bigger player on that landscape as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you become a bigger player by, obviously, it seems like whoever's at the top of the food chain gets to kind of make the rules, and everybody kind of has to follow. And some of that is dictated by who has the crown jewel events, the Knoxville Nationals, the Kings Royals, and those events, because you don't want to change rules, and then then your drivers can't go to those events and be competitive without changing their cars around. So obviously, I think it's in our best interest to kind of see where we fit in right now. But, long-term goal would be to make sure that we're always talking about the racing product and what the fan experience is, because this is outdoor entertainment. And if we're not talking about entertainment value, then, I don't think that's right for us. And some of that entertainment value comes from the product that we put on the racetrack, and that's tire, rules, and wings are part of, what dictates some of that. So I think we absolutely need to have those conversations, and will have those conversations. I wouldn't look for big changes in year one. I know there's some stuff being talked about as far as the tires, maybe a second tire being introduced, or maybe a slight change in it, but I wouldn't say that anything major for us in year one. But I'd say moving forward, we're always going to have those conversations, and always be trying to create a better product for the fans to watch.
All right. Thank you.
We'll go to Connor Ferguson with Always Race Day.
Hey guys, thanks for taking the time to be on here. Brad, I wanted to ask you, you've kind of been steadfast on emphasizing that this isn't a war. This isn't you out to kill the world of Outlaws. And what's it been like trying to get that message out? Because you've been so committed to it, but it feels like casual fans out there don't hear much about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Outlaws have been in business for a really long time, and I think they're going to continue to be in business. I can't really speak on what they're going to do. All I can do is focus on what we're trying to do with our high limit brand. And, obviously we want to have big events, and, we have a completely different business model than what they have. We're not asking our drivers to be exclusive. We're not trying to run 95 nights. So it's a good bit different. We're kind of taking what the All-Stars had and simply, elevating it to another level. We feel like the All-Stars were basically between Pennsylvania and Iowa, and we simply added a West Coast swing and maybe spread, the footprint out a little bit of what they had going on. But, still a similar amount of races that they had. We're taking our high limit midweek thing and trying to putting it in the middle of that, to help with travel for the race teams. And we're really looking at the overall sustainability for team owners. We're really trying to focus on the fan experience. We think the fans experience needs to be elevated to another level. And, I think the overall goal for us is just to make the whole ecosystem better for everybody.
And then for both you and Kyle, I know Knoxville ended up not being on the high limit schedule. How not disappointing? Obviously, there's a lot of excitement around this, but how much do you guys want to get out to Knoxville in the future, knowing how big of a track is for car racing?
Yeah, I think both Kyle and I mean, I'll let him speak from his perspective, but I think that the Knoxville Nationals, and we're both Knoxville Nationals champions, and we have the utmost respect for Knoxville, and it's the where the Hall of Fame is. It's kind of where where sprint car racing's most popular place. So I mean, we were disappointed. I'm not, we thought we'd keep an event date there. They definitely showed their loyalty, which we can appreciate. I mean, they have had a relationship with the World of Outlaws and with Dirt Vision and those things. And I think the one thing that we have going for us is our teams will still be able to race at Knoxville, whether they decided to do an event with us or not. We'll leave dates open, and obviously the Knoxville Nationals is something that we're never going to try to run against. So for our perspective, in the short term was a little bit of a disappointment, but in the long term, I think that we'll be able to have a relationship in the future with Knoxville, and we're definitely still very friendly with them.
Yeah, I mean, I would basically give the same exact answer. I'm proud to be a two-time Knoxville Nationals champion. I love everybody at Knoxville Raceway, and at the same point, yeah, you're bummed that you aren't able to have a race there next year, but I don't view it as something that we're not going to ever have a race there. I think what we're doing is still so fresh, and your tracks and teams are still trying to figure it all out. So I understand that and know that, or I'm confident that in the future, we will be able to race there. So yeah, I know it's a bummer right now, but I think short term versus long term will be fine.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
We'll go back to Jeff Gluck real quick with the Athletic.
Kyle, growing up as a sprint car fan, I'm sure you could never in your wildest dreams have imagined starting your own series and all that. I also know that you don't necessarily are super reflective at times, but have you taken a step back at all in this process to be like, wow, look at what I've, helped accomplish here. Look what I'm doing. I mean, this is a pretty monumental thing that's going on here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it too much, I guess, in that aspect, but I do know Tony Stewart's always been my guy. I like Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart, but I really love how Tony Stewart kind of owned sprint car team, dirt track teams, racetracks, series, all of that. And he's been one of the key leaders in growing grassroots racing since at least I've been following the sport. So I think as you've seen with my schedule and things of that nature, I'm very similar to what he was doing in his prime. And so it is neat to kind of have him pass the torch over to Brad and I, and I'm really proud of that. So but yeah, there's a lot more going on in my life now than there was 5 or 6 years ago. So but it's really cool. I feel like you're doing something really big for the sport of dirt track racing, and for my brand, it obviously ventures out further than just dirt track racing. So yeah, it's really neat and cool, and I just hope we can do, and I know we will do, a really good job with this. And I think we'll all look back, or look 10 years from now and feel like where the sport was now today versus where it is a decade from now will be massive. So yeah, it's been fun, and I'm sure there's going to be other ventures down the road as I get older and acquire a better financial living. There's more that I want to do in this sport. So I look forward to all those.
Thank you.
Back to TJ Slideways.
This could be for any of the three of you at this point. What is the 3 to 5 year vision of where High Limit will be? What do you envision in 3 years? What would you like to have accomplished?
I think I'll speak first, and we can let from a flow racing perspective. But obviously, growth is the most important thing, and then just providing more teams, more resources, growing our stars, creating larger events, keep increasing purses, keep pushing the limits on the fan experience, and obviously. Just overall growth is probably the biggest thing. We don't know exactly how that's going to look, but we're certainly going to work hard at it.
Yeah, from our side, it's just that sustained growth, right? And that's not just for the high limit series, it's for the sport, right? We've got to figure out how do we get more talent coming up and create bigger stars and celebrities earlier on, so that there's that greater appeal at the track, in the live stream, and there's a better economy for the athletes, right? I think that's one of the things, and why we're so excited to go into this partnership was like, how can we work together? There's a growing audience, not just on Flow Racing, but all the streaming platforms that are distributing the product, and there's not a lot of mainstream sponsors in the sport, right? We need to improve the economy, make it more sustainable, make it more bulletproof, so that more drivers can get involved, stay involved, and we get a better product at the end of the day.
One last question. You guys have made the move to have a traveling safety team with you in 2024, which is a great step. You've also mentioned racetrack safety as well, which has been a hot topic at times. Are you guys going to outline a protocol of what a racetrack has to provide from a safety standpoint, as far as fencing balls or whatever, eventually, to be able to get a high limit event?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a goal of ours is to improve safety, and you have to be aware of every situation. I mean, there's a lot of racetracks across this country that don't have a ton of resources, that have kind of been in this ecosystem for a long time. So we certainly don't want to go into racetracks and put them out of business in year 1 and 2 because they simply can't afford to make the improvements that High Limits is, requesting them to do, or holding them, accountable to do. So, I think it's going to take time and obviously, take a lot of steps, but it's certainly on our agenda, to keep pushing racetracks and helping racetracks get the resources to make the improvements needed to improve the overall safety of sprint car racing. And as you mentioned, having med start every single race, is super important. Those guys bring a lot to the table. They understand sprint cars and they understand safety more than anybody else, and they're super passionate. So we're super excited to have that relationship started. And obviously, I think that kind of goes with improvements on the racetrack. I think they'll see things, we'll see things, and we'll ask racetracks to make reasonable improvements, hopefully year after year. Eventually, we'll get to a point where we won't have as many of those safety concerns, down the road. But obviously that takes a lot of time, but we got to start somewhere.
We'll go with Grace from Speed Sport.
Thank you. So with the decision to go national and all the kind of recent developments for High Limit, I'm curious what some of the responses have been to both of you guys, whether it's from promoters, fellow racers, fans on social media. Just what have some of those responses been to these new High Limit developments?
You can go ahead, pal.
No, I think there's still just a lot of curiosity out there, as far as, because we haven't had schedules released and things like that, and purses haven't fully been put out to the public yet, and bigger plans and such. So I think there's still a lot of curiosity, but overall I think everybody's encouraged that the sport is going to be bigger no matter what, and how you view it in 2024. There's going to be way more money out there to race for, which helps the teams out with wherever they choose to race, all of that. So sure, there's been negative comments that I'm sure we've all seen on social media, but the overall fact is that the sport is going to be healthier. There's a lot more money out there to be raced for. So and again, I think in the short term, we all understand the concerns that fans especially might have, or even tracks and promoters and teams. But I think once we get out there and get all of our information out to the teams and tracks and fans, I think everybody will be more accepting and will understand the where we want to head.
Thank you.
I think that's basically the same thing.
Thank you both.
We'll have Bob Pockris from Fox Sports.
Yeah, for Phil, do you have minority stakes in other leagues or racing series? And I guess where does this kind of fit in your whole view of, or is this kind of an experiment for you to see if that is a model you want to go to other things?
Thanks, Bob. It's a unique partnership for us in a sort of a co-ownership position. We do have some owned and operated events that we do across different sports, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, even our Flow Racing Night in America, right? And so we're always looking for creative ways. The great thing about our business is we're pretty nimble, right? We want to find the right partners. We want to find long-term solutions that we can really invest in. And so we like this model because we feel confident in the partnership, right? So it's definitely something that we could look to replicate in other sports or even in racing, or there could be bigger stakes where we own the IP exclusively.
And then for Brad or Kyle, why did you need Flow to invest into the sport? In other words, did you need it in order to raise the purses, or did you feel like you needed it for stability?
Yeah, good question. I think it aligns our interests, a lot better. Instead of just having a rights fee out there, we're partners and allows us to, really work together to try to improve, the product that we're showcasing on their platform, and then also gives us the resources that we need to really, elevate the series as well. So I think there was, two sides to why the partnership's so good for us.
Thank you.
Back to Justin from Dirt Tracker.
For Brad and Kyle both, the stuff with Mike Hess, you guys are going to, hand over officiating and a lot of that stuff to him. You bring in Kendra to help with marketing and things. But for you guys on a race night, do you envision a point where you guys completely are able to kind of step away from series ownership and just be competitors? Obviously Brad, a lot this season was, running, graders and doing all sorts of things through the course of a day. Have you talked to your staff, about, okay, at X time, we're just race car drivers. Have you guys thought through some of that stuff yet?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's super important with, everything at Casey Kane Racing that they're providing me and working towards. And then obviously Napa Auto Parts sponsoring, me as a driver. It's super important that I put a, 110% focus on still trying to win races. And I think I proved that this year, with all the different things I had going on in events, we're promoting and other business things that we're doing, still, competing at the highest level when I'm at the racetrack, still winning races and, still winning championships. So, I think it's just a balance that you have to work towards. But obviously, finding really good people and putting a really good team will obviously help us accomplish that. So hopefully when we get to the track, Mike Hess can do his job, which we all know he can, and he'll do it at a really high level. And he's going to have his staff, and he's going to be in total control of that side of the business. And then you have Kendra, who's going to have her staff. And we also have, my wife and family members that are going to be helping in this stuff. So when we're at the track and especially once we strap in the car, for sure, it's 110% all racing. And Kyle never really ever worried about it anyway. So I'll just answer that for him.
I would say I learned back at Tri-Cities to don't get involved in anything.
Real quick, I had a question submitted by Christopher Daugherty for Brad. Concerning the rule package, will there be anything different at all, really technical wise, that the Outlaws or All Stars have done in the past?
No, I mean, we're trying to fit into the ecosystem right now, not trying to disturb it. So obviously, sprint car racing's healthy right now, and anytime you make rule changes, it ends up costing teams money. We certainly don't want to come in year one and start, changing the way things are done or costing teams money. So any rule changes will be down the road, anything major rule changes. But, as I discussed earlier, we're certainly going to have discussions to try to, keep improving the actual racing product. And, those are 2, 3, 5 years down the road.
I believe Tyler Burnett had a question.
Yeah, guys, you talked about a midweek series in the announcement that you released. And we obviously saw how much success it had last year. I'm wondering, though, does it fit into the national schedule? Like, will there be points awarded during that midweek series, and like almost like NBA is doing with their, in tournament season or whatever? And then Larson, how excited are you to have that back? I know it's probably something that you almost needed to have just because of your schedule.
I'll answer you want me to answer the series part of it, and then you can talk about your side of it. Yes, the midweek stuff is still involved. It's going to still have its own point fund. And, the goal is obviously 12. We lost, it seemed like a lot of teams couldn't quite make all 12. So we've shrunk that down to more like an 8 or 10 race series that'll fit inside of all of our big events. And then, obviously it allows guys like Kyle and, teams that don't want to sign up for the full national series to still, kind of have that midweek money series, midweek mini series that they can, compete for those bigger shows. It worked really well last year, and we'll certainly have a lot of those same tracks and have some different tracks as well. But that's involved in the whole overall footprint.
Yeah, and then obviously for me, I'm excited anytime I can go race. So the midweek stuff is more opportunity that for me to go race because it fits better in my schedule. Usually my Mondays are really busy, but besides that, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are pretty open. So the more races scheduled on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, the more opportunity I can get out there and race and you just get out there in front of the fan and grow the sport that way. So yeah, I'm excited that we still are incorporating the midweek stuff. It will be a little bit shorter of a schedule than it was this year, but I think, like I said, I think that's good for everybody. So just excited to race as much as I get to. I was counting the races on my schedule, or at least what we have currently, and there's a lot. So should be fun.
Go back to Jeremy Elliott from Sprint Car Unlimited.
Brad, looking at, you have the series and obviously the other side is seems like they're upset and stuff. How difficult is it to not get sucked into the back and forth, doing things to react to the Outlaws or even another series that's regional? And how important is it for you guys to have tunnel vision and kind of just focus on what you guys can control and do what your vision is?
Yeah, we're certainly not reactionary. We're definitely have a vision and a goal, and we're not looking over our shoulders. We're looking out in front of us, and we know that there's going to be in the short term some people upset, but I think anytime you do anything big in life or in any industry, I think you're going to have that. So, I think we're just putting a great staff together. We're putting a great schedule together. We're looking at a really big picture, and we're putting a great business model for the team owners. And, we're going to elevate the fan experience. This is things that we are going to do. And obviously if there's some reactionary stuff on the other side, it's still elevating sprint car racing. So we're winning it either way.
Thank you.
Back to Phil real quick, if we can, just talking about all Flo's plans for coverage, the race content, all the original stuff you do. Can you go further into that?
Again, we want to take a holistic approach here, right? We want to be very comprehensive in how we invest in partnerships like this, elevating the production. We've hired a lot of new people here at FloSports. The production side, Joe Baker coming over from ESPN, who's got a long history in racing from that side of the business. But just down to our content and coverage, right? there's more storytelling that we've got to do here on a daily basis. We want to make sure that the storylines for all of our partners are being told on a weekly basis. We want to work with our partners to figure out how to position the programming on the weekday calendar so that fans can consume as much content as possible. So we love what they're doing with the midweek races and the weekend races, right? Just gives us a greater opportunity to engage more folks throughout the year. And then, again, it's just the storytelling. How do we get out there? How do we even distribute some of the live product beyond our platform? We've started to do a lot of free view testing, and it's produced tremendous results across different sports, including racing, pushing the VOD experience across fast channels. You're just going to see more and more distribution, and having high profile events, series, drivers like High Limits Racing brings to the table just gives us license to continue to push it out further and further.
Thank you, guys. Looks like that's all the questions for today. But yeah, doesn't look like anyone else is in. Thanks everyone for coming. Thank you, Brad, Kyle, Phil, for taking time out of the day. For all the media members, there will be a full video posted on Flow Racing shortly with the full recording, and feel free to review it, use it however you want, your social channels, your stories, and thank you for coming.
Yeah,
thanks everybody.